Hi all, thanks a lot for joining in. This is Rahul. I hope you guys are able to hear me and able to see my screen. All right, thanks for confirming. Let me unmute you all from here. Yeah, you guys are self-muted now. So in case you have any questions, any queries, then you can directly unmute yourself and ask it. Right. So this is what we have discussed yesterday that Selenium is not a tool. We have seen that how we have configured Selenium. In order to work with Selenium, these are the prerequisites that we need. The very first thing, we need to configure and install Java JDK 1.8, and then we need the editor to write the Java code. So that is Eclipse, and then we'll be needing the Selenium. Then Selenium is available in a form of a jar file. So since we have started Selenium with Java, so in Java, Selenium is available in a form of a jar file. If you start Selenium with Python, then this is something like a Python binding you need to install. If you start with C#, then Selenium is available in a form of a DLL file. If you start Selenium with Ruby, then it is available in a form of a gem file. So similarly, Selenium bindings are available in different languages. But yes, you cannot install Selenium. You can only configure it. There is no GUI application. There is just one library that you need to import it inside your project. That is what Selenium. And from where we have configured Selenium, where we have downloaded Selenium, from the main website of Selenium, that is selenium.dev. So over here, you need to go to download, and then you'll be downloading the latest stable version, that is 3.141.5. This is the latest stable version, right? So once you download it, it comes as a jar file. We have actually, I've stored it over here. So this is the Selenium jar file. That is Selenium standalone server 3.141.5. And how we have added it, I'll again gonna show it to you. Like inside your Java project, first you need to create a simple Java project, and then right click on your project, go to build path, click on add external archives, and from here you need to select the jar file, click on open, and the jar will be added to your reference library, right? So this is what your Selenium is. The complete functionality, all classes, methods are available inside this library. In case you want to see what all classes are there, what all methods are there, what all functionality there inside this jar file, then like what we did, we added a calculator. You remember we created a calculator project. So if you open this, we have seen one class, calculator class, and there are a couple of methods that we have created is showing inside this class. Same way, if I expand the Selenium jar, you're gonna see so many things over here. See, it's a huge library, right? And all these are folders, different folders. We call them as packages. So if you expand it, you're gonna see each folder contains n number of classes. See, hundreds of classes are there. Hundreds of, if you open it, hundreds of methods you're gonna find inside each class. It's a huge library. It's a huge project. But we don't expand jar file to see what all classes and what all functions, what all methods are there. There is a specific Java document, and which is also called as the API document, that you're going to see on the website itself. If you go down, you're going to find that document over here. Just go a little down, see Ruby binding, Java bindings, and from here you can see the API doc. So if you click on the API doc and click on frames, you should be able to see all list of classes. See, all these classes are there. It's a huge library. Anything that you need to automate using Selenium, you'll find a class, you'll find a function over here. But this is already pre-built. You're not going to create these classes. These classes are already created. You just need to call them, create an object of these classes. Like yesterday, what we did, we created an object of one of the class called as Chrome driver. So if you want to see where this Chrome driver class is, you're gonna find it over here. This is the Chrome driver class. If you click on this, this is class Chrome driver, right? So we're gonna explore this API documentation more, but before that, you need to be good in Java, the basic core Java concepts. Then you should be able to understand this API document, right? So this is your complete like guide for Selenium. There is no official book or guide through which you can get step-by-step instructions on Selenium. This is the only documentation on Selenium, right? This covers everything that is there inside the Selenium project. Okay, Ali is saying that you can't turn on your mic. Let me check. So Ali, you are self-muted now. You can unmute yourself. You can try unmuting yourself from your end. You are self-muted now. All right.
Rahul, one
Yeah.
question, like for in my system, I'm using Citrix for my office purpose. So there is Java 11 is a mandatory. So is there any other way where I can have two Javas in one system? You know, where like yesterday you were saying that you can 11 will create a problem in integration.
So yeah, I mean, you can install JDK 1.8 as well, and then environment variables you can configure for 1.8, and don't configure it for Java 11.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Any more questions, guys, before we get started? So yesterday, what we have seen is we have written a very basic code. It's like creating an object of this Chrome driver class and then calling the method from that class. So very first method is driver.get. So get method is for navigation. If you want to navigate to a particular website, you need to mention the URL in a form of a string over here. Then you can get the title. In order to print the title, printing task is of Java. So we do system out print ln, right? Okay, Mitesh is saying the voice is not coming proper. Are you guys facing the same issue, or is the voice clear?
No,
It,
everything.
it's clear.
It's clear. Okay. Sure. So Mitesh, please check it at your end. So for others, it's very clear. All right. Thanks. So now I'm gonna write a couple more piece of code, but don't worry about what I'm writing right now. I'm gonna show you some of the thing that if I, let's say, visit one of the website, let's say google.com, and after visiting Google, I need to enter some search text. So how the code looks like. So don't worry about the coding part. I'm going to explain it to you later on once we start with our WebDriver lectures. So this is a basic code which I'm writing to print hello Selenium. And let me run it again. So let the browser launch. See, it has printed hello Selenium. And then if I want to close the browser, then I can simply write driver.quit. So quit is going to kill the entire session and closing the browser, right? Now same stuff. If I want to work on Firefox, I can change this to Firefox driver. I just need to change it to Firefox driver. And maybe if I want to execute it on my real device, like Android device, I simply need to change this to Android driver. and rest of the coding that I've written over here, this code will gonna remain same. So these 4 lines of code that I've written is gonna remain same if you want to execute this code on your mobile device. The only change you need to do is change this Chrome driver to Android driver. If you want to execute it on iOS, iPhone, then you need to change it to iOS driver. So backend is your web driver only, right? Although little configuration you may need to do for Apm, but that configuration we're going to talk about it later on. But the coding part will going to remain the same. So if I show you one of the project, so this is if I show you this, the same code. See driver.get, and then this is what I've written, find element, something like this, right? And then send keys this, and then forget about this thread.sleep, and then driver.quit. Now, if I run this code right now, and let me connect my mobile device as well. Let me show you my mobile device. Okay, so this is my real mobile device. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run this code now. And you're going to see the execution what's going to happen on the mobile device. Now you're going to see it is going to launch a browser, and then we're going to do the same action that is done on the laptop browser will be done on the real mobile device browser. So let us wait and see. It's launching Google, and then it typed, and then it quit. Not only this was a web-based application. In our mobile device, iOS or Android, we have 3 types of application. One is a web-based application. So in a mobile device, we have a web-based application, we have a native app, and we have a hybrid app. So be it Android, be it iOS, be it Windows device. So we have 3 types of application. Web apps are your browsers. Like in case of Android, it's Chrome browser. In case of iOS, it's Safari browser. And native are your standalone application, like a dialer app, a camera app, any internal application on your Android device is a native application. Hybrid is a combination of web plus native application. So hybrid are like your Facebook application, your WhatsApp, your LinkedIn app, which is like a standalone application, but when you open it, it won't run without internet. And the other thing, at times, if you click on any link, it opens up in a web view as well. So any application combination of web plus native is called as a hybrid application. And all these 3 can be easily tested using Apm, right? So the sorry guys, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, there's a power failure, so due to which the internet cuts off. Okay, so I was saying that through Apm, you can test all these 3 types of application, like web application, native application, hybrid application. And again, there is no license required to work on Apm. The other best thing is that you need not to learn anything new. If you know Selenium, you can easily use the same code and execute it on your real device, just with some additional configuration, which is like the one-time setup that you need to do. The configuration part of Apm is little complex as compared to Selenium, but that is just the one-time configuration. And rest the coding remains the same. So if you know Selenium, you can work on Apm as well. Now, if I show you another example, let's say if I show you this is one of the native application. This is a dialer application where I can make a phone call as well on my mobile device. So let me do one thing. Let me run this code and let me show it to you. So this is what the Apm GUI application, how it looks like. And let's see what happens. So see, it launches a dialer and see it's making a phone call. And then it will gonna click on the dial button, right? So this is how you can make, I have actually automated a native application of Android, which is an inbuilt application of Android. So if I can automate a web application, a native application, I can automate any application that is there on my mobile device. I can automate WhatsApp, Facebook, LinkedIn, any application you can easily automate. And the background is Selenium only. This is the same Selenium code, right? So we're going to learn about these things as well. At the end of once we are done with Selenium, I'm going to show you the complete detailed configuration of Apm and how we're going to execute the test on a real device as well. And then you can add these things as well in your resume that you have actually worked on Selenium as well as Apm, right? So that's what I mean. If you look over here, that initially we were discussing about that Selenium is only for web-based application, but we have just seen that we can automate mobile-based applications as
We can do it for
well, right?
iOS also.
Yes, we can do it for iOS as well, but the prerequisite for iOS is that you need to have a Mac operating system, because there are some tools that we need to install that only works on Mac. And this is a monopoly of Apple. They don't allow their devices to be tested, their apps to be developed on any other platform apart from Mac. Whereas if we talk about Android, you can use Linux, you can use Mac, you can use Windows, any operating system, and you can test it, test your Android application there. But for iOS, only Mac. You need to have Mac. Right, so there's a detailed course that I've created for Apm in which complete Mac configuration for iOS and iOS frameworks are covered, complete Android configuration, Android frameworks are covered. So you should have access to all these things as well. It's a complete course which is already there, right? And rest, now if I talk about these are the components that we have discussed: RC, ID, WebDriver, grid, although we didn't discuss any detail on this. So this is the very first two components that came into the market with Selenium 1. If I talk about Selenium 1, so the components that were there with Selenium 1 is RC, IDE, and grid 1. If I talk about Selenium 2, Selenium 2 contains RC, WebDriver, IDE, and Grid 2. If I talk about Selenium 3 components are IDE, there is no RC, it's WebDriver, and it's Grid 3. And same way, same components, IDE, WebDriver, Grid are there in case of Selenium 4 as well. Right? But RC is gone. RC is nowhere in the market. RC was the initial library. So initial library, as in when they started this project, they created a plugin which is like a record and play plugin. If you go to, let's say, if you go to any website, google.com, and if you check this Selenium IDE, let me see, I have configured it over here, although it's not showing. It's just like a plugin that you need to install on your browser. So the plugin looks like this. This is your Selenium IDE. You can install it on Firefox, you can install it on Chrome. And what you need to do is, let's say I need to record a new test. So if I click on record a new test, you just need to give your project name. Let's say it's a Google project. I'm going to click on OK. And I need to give the URL http google.com. I'm going to click on start recording, and you can see a browser is opening over here, which is navigating to google.com. Yes, we are going to cover grid as well, Anshul, in these lectures. So it's navigating to google.com. Let me see. It's a bit slow. I'm actually connected to my phone. Let me switch back the network.
Your screen has freezed.
So it's taking some time. Let me see. Yeah. So now if I open it, if I type something, let's say Selenium, click on Google search, perform some action, you can see Selenium IDE is recording. It's being displayed over here. And then if I quit, you can see all these things are being recorded. And now if I want to play them back, I'll click on stop and say Google test, click on OK. And then I can go over here and I'll say run all test. So as soon as I click on run all test, see same actions are being repeated. And see, it goes over here. And then it didn't click because there are some little synchronization issues that we need to handle. We need to add some weight. But normally what people do when they start doing this record and play, we can extract, let me pause it. We can extract the code from here as well. So we can right click and say export, and see there are multiple languages available. If I say Java JUnit, click on export. And if I go to my desktop and save it as Google test, so you can see a Java file downloaded over here. If I open this, so let it download. And this is the file. If I open this up, you're going to see the same code over here. See driver.get, driver.find element by .name queue, and this is the same that I've written over here in Eclipse. So driver.get, driver.find element by name queue, hello Selenium, and there's the same code that you see over here. There are some additional code as well, but this code that is written over here is not at all complex, that we need to use Selenium IDE for record and play and then get the code and then do manipulation by pasting this code into Eclipse. This is a very simple code. If you know basic Java, if you know the initial part of Selenium, you will never need this record and play plugin. And trust me, record and play Selenium IDE is not at all used in the industry. The actual projects are only using WebDriver. So this code is of WebDriver, right? IDE is just recording and playing that and then giving you the same code so that you can do some manipulations. But you cannot use IDE for your automation project. This is because there are a lot of drawbacks associated with IDE. What drawbacks are there? If I talk about Selenium itself, if I talk about these 4 components of Selenium, these are only used 25% in your automation project. Yes, Selenium is only 25% used in your automation project. The frameworks that you are going to design, Selenium is only going to use 25%. Then what is the rest 75%? Anything else that you have heard about which is integrated with Selenium apart from these 4 components?
Database.
Database,
Is it the build tools like Maven?
Maven, build
Test
tool,
engine.
Reporting tools.
TestNG, framework, reporting tool. So reporting, we have TestNG reports, we have ReportNG, we have extend reports, right?
Java.
Code repository, GitHub.
Reports. Java, exactly. So the major part is of core Java. Log4j, correct. Anything else that you have heard about apart from this?
Git.
JUnit.
Code repository GitHub.
GitHub, TestNG, JUnit are the same stuff.
Jenkins,
Jenkins,
Cucumber, maybe.
Cucumber,
Apache POI for exec.
Apache POI. Right, and a lot of other stuffs are there. Yeah, SQL. Lot of other stuff can be integrated with Selenium. So now, if I talk about an automation project, let's say what I did right now, I entered this URL over here, and I entered this test data. This is like a test data, right? So I can, like, when we are testing a particular, let's say, login window, and I want to enter a username and password. And what I'll do, if I enter username over here, and in the next line, if I enter password over here, it's like I'm hard coding these values in the coding part. So normally we don't keep this information over here. This is my test data. Where do we maintain the test data? Where do we
In
maintain
Excel
it?
sheets, maybe Excel
In Excel
sheets
sheet.
or
Exactly. In Excel sheet, majorly our test data is inside Excel sheet. So what I want, the data should be read from Excel and should be injected over here, right? This value should come from the Excel sheet. I should not hard code this value, right? Because when I'm using like automating, or when I'm doing a manual testing on a login window, I do a lot of permutation and combination. I enter correct username, correct password, correct username, incorrect password, incorrect username, incorrect password, right? We do a lot of permutation and combination, and for that we generate test data. So that test data, I want that it should be injected over here from the Excel sheet. Now if I talk about reading and writing from Excel, that is not a task of Selenium. So you cannot do reading and writing from Excel using Selenium. So what you need to do in that case, Selenium will not going to give you any class or method in order to do reading and writing from Excel. There's a separate project, a separate Java project, like we have Selenium project. There is another project created by a different organization, which name is Apache. So Apache is the one who has created an API called as Apache POI API. Like we said, Selenium is an API. Same way, Apache POI API is there. API means it's a jar file. So same way, like what we did, we downloaded Selenium jar file from Selenium website. There is one website which this is like a centralized repository for all open source Java projects. So if you search, even if you want to download Selenium, you can download Selenium from here as well. Just type Selenium, see Selenium Java, and you should be able to download all these versions. See, this is the latest 4.0 beta 4. This is beta right now. So this is Selenium 3.14159. You can download the jar directly from here as well. Otherwise, in case you want to download POI, just type POI, and you're going to see Apache POI jars. So Java API to access Microsoft format documents, basically. So if you click on this, if you click on the jar file, it is going to give you POI jar. Now, if in case you want to do Excel reading and writing, you need to download this jar. Same way like you did with Selenium, you added the Selenium jar so that you can automate your website. Now you want to do reading writing from Excel. So you need to right click over here, go to build path, add external archives, go to downloads, and you need to add this POI jar to your project. And now you can call the classes from this POI API and then integrate your Selenium test with Excel reading and writing, and then you can get the values from Excel injected over here. That is how the things are integrated with Selenium. So now you can do reading and writing from POI. Now maybe the data is not there in Excel sheet. The data is there in the database. You want to read the username and password from the database. Selenium is not going to help you in reading the data or writing some queries, fetching the data from the database. That's not a task of Selenium. Selenium is only for UI automation, for website testing only. It is nothing to do with the database testing part. So for database, your vendors like SQL, MySQL, Oracle, they provide their own APIs to perform the JDBC, ODBC connection. So if you type over here, MySQL, you're gonna see MySQL connector Java. So if you click on this, you go over here, download the latest one, you're gonna get a jar file. Just click on this, see MySQL connector Java, jar is downloaded. And same way, you're gonna go to your project, right click on your project, and go to build path, add external archives, add this MySQL connector Java jar file. So one by one, you need to add all these jar files. So your project may gonna have 40 to 50 jar files. What all integrations that you're doing, you need the API for that particular integration. Let's say you have written a lot of code over here, right? And there's something somewhere around like you have automated the entire website, somewhere around 1,000 lines of code is there. Now, when you are executing that code, it is taking somewhere around 3 to 4 hours to complete the execution. Now, for that 3 to 4 hours, you're not going to sit in front of your laptop and you'll be watching each and every action is being performed or not, right? If you are sitting and watching, then there is no need for automation. You can do that thing manually as well. So what you want that for 3 to 4 hours, maybe once you leave like to your home from the office, you want to turn on your you want to run your automation code, and you want that after 4 hours of execution is completed, I need to make sure everything is successfully done or not. Each and every element on the website is clicked, and wherever the input is required, the input was provided. Each and every functionality is fully tested. Like you need to get some sort of results for that. So in order to do that, you can generate a log file, a file which will gonna have a current timestamp, like at this particular date, at this particular time, minutes, seconds, hours, your script has clicked on a submit button. And then this particular time, this particular minute, this particular second, it has entered a username, then it has entered a password. So same way I have a log file for
Why
huge
is
just a moment. The log file will actually going to help you in validating whether each and every action is being performed or not, right? Because once the test execution is done, you need to make sure that everything that you have automated is successfully executed or not. For that, you need to maintain a log file, and maintaining logs is again not a task of Selenium. So which API handles that logging part?
Log4j.
Log4j, exactly. So you need to add another API which is created by Apache itself. So this is Log4j is provided by Apache. So this is another jar file, right? So for database as well, we have added a jar file. Now, if you see over here, we have handled the web-based project, we have handled the mobile application, and we have handled the database part as well. Right? Although Selenium is only for UI, but we can integrate web-based, mobile-based, and database, all three in one single project.
I have a question, Rahul. Are these referenced libraries specific
Ready
to?
API, this Ready API, this REST assured, these are all Java projects. These web services can also be automated using the Java project. For there are APIs available. Let's say if you type REST assured, you're going to see a jar file for REST assured as well. Just give me a moment. So this is REST assured for testing of REST services.
Screen is hanged.
Rahul, you are sharing
Yeah.
screen, you are not able to
The
see.
screen, just give me a moment. Just give me a moment, guys. Sorry, guys, the connection is going on and off today. I'm not sure why. Okay, so I was talking about this rest assured. This is also for like web services testing. So this is also one of the Java project. You just click on this. Bundle and jar is one of the same thing. If you click on this, you're gonna get one single jar file itself. You can add this jar file in the same Java project, and you can automate your web services as well. Now, what web services are, if you guys are new to the API testing part, then later on I'm going to explain you what APIs are. APIs plays a very important role these days. Not just UI testing, the demand of API testing is like anything these days in the market. So basically, the demand of UI plus API is what is required in automation tester these days. So APIs are also very important because when a project is built up, like if I talk about the website development part, your software development lifecycle itself. So we have a couple of things like in every software development cycle, like we have a UI part, we have a database part, we have a API part, right? Which we also call it as middle layer. Or the
Rahul, your voice is breaking.
yeah. So we
Rahul, we
like
lost you again.
okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I was talking about like if any software development part, we have these all layers are there. Like we have a UI layer, we have a database layer, we have an API layer, that is your business layer or the middle layer. So if I talk about the development part, which is the very first thing that is developed. So whenever there's an application development happening, is the UI developed in the very beginning, or is the database developed at the very beginning, or is the API that the business layer is developed in the very beginning? Which is the very first thing that is developed?
UI?
Is the
I
UI development
I-
happened at the very beginning?
No, it's
I
like
think
this.
API.
API.
Design, wireframe design, wireframes.
Sorry,
Wireframes designs.
wireframes,
API should be ready.
API.
Should be ready.
Backend part is
So see, the very first thing that is developed is the database, because APIs are also going to hit the database only, right? If the database is not there, what APIs are going to hit, right? So in your software development process, the very first thing that is designed is your database layer. First database are designed, then the API, the business logics are written. And at the end, the UI part is developed, right? So there are different developers for APIs, for business layers. There are different developers for UI. There are different developers for database. There are different developers. There are DBAs, right? Abhishek, you're saying that you're not seeing my screen. Guys, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
can't. I
Yes,
can't.
Okay. Abhishek,
Yes.
please try to refresh your screen. So the database, as I said, database is designed in the very beginning, and UI is the last part, right? So now what happens is the testing is started from the initial phase itself. So we have dedicated database testers as well. We have testers available for APIs as well, and we have UI testers available. So in case you are coming from a manual testing background, so you generally get a chance to test the application, right? The front end. That is like in case you have web-based application, then you get the website to test, then you start writing your test cases by looking at the UI of the application, right? But this is a very important layer, that is the API layer, because till the time UIs are not designed, your APIs are designed. Let's say there is a login window. In login window, when you're performing a manual testing, you enter username, password, click on submit button, do a lot of permutation, combination, and validation, right? But before UI, the developers, the API developers, they create a login API. So login APIs are in a format of a XML or a JSON. So there is something called as SOAP. There is something called as REST. So these days REST APIs are in use because they are very lightweight. Majorly applications like travel domain, banking domain, health domain. So all these are using REST APIs itself. So initially APIs, when the APIs are designed, if the login APIs are designed, now company, they ask you to test the login API. So login API, I think you're gonna get something like let's say I talk about XML itself. So you get XML username, password, something like this. And what you need to do, you need to send a request using some tool. If you're doing manual testing on APIs, you may gonna use Postman, you may gonna use Swagger, and then you'll be sending the username and password with the help of some API request. If you have heard about some HTTP request, they're sent using the HTTP methods called as get, called as post, called as put, right? Although there's a whole big detail to discuss in the API part, but these details are covered in the API testing course, right? So I'm just giving you a little overview that you can do API testing manually as well using Postman, using Swagger, right? What you do, you inject these username and password and you validate the login functionality. So if you have successfully validated the login functionality by entering actual username, actual password, incorrect username, incorrect password, and a lot of other permutation and combination you can do while hitting these APIs. If you have successfully validated the login API part, later on, once the UI is developed and a login form is designed on that UI, then the login API itself is mapped to that UI. And then you're going to see a front end with a text box username, text box password, and a submit button. So when you're going to test that UI part, then you're not going to see any major issue if you have thoroughly tested the login API, because the functionality is already working fine. You've already tested the login functionality at the API level, and now the API is mapped to UI. So what sort of issues you're going to see in the UI? Only cosmetic issues. If there is any spelling mistake, maybe the text box has to accept 25 characters and it is accepting more characters. So these sort of issues you're going to see on the UI part because you have already tested the API. And now, like we can manually test UI, we can automate it using Selenium. Same way, we can manually test API using Postman or Swagger, and we can automate the APIs as well using the REST assured API. So that is the reason when you start manually with UI testing, you start automating the UI part first. But now you can integrate the database part as well. You can integrate the API automation part as well in one single project. So company, they want that the company has their UI, a web-based application. They have a database to be tested as well. They have their own APIs as well. And not only this, they have their mobile applications as well. So all these things can be integrated. The web-based, the mobile-based, the web service, the database can be integrated in one single project. That is your Java project. So one framework can be created which can handle all these levels. Yeah, tell me.
Sorry, Wahid, for interrupting. I have a question like, see, so this API automation testing is did on the page level, or it's like the on the whole the business logic?
Sorry, API is at which level?
So like the UI testing which we are doing is like if you take any application, the UI automation is on the page level, like home page, like
Yeah.
that. But API automation is the same kind, or it's like a kind of.
It's at the business. You are testing the business logic.
Okay.
You don't have any UI for API.
Okay.
Right?
So
APIs are just the request that you are sending to the server.
so the
Or to
API
Twitter.
testing is dedicated for only the business logic, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So that is what API plays a very important role. Now you can see you started with Selenium and then you ending up testing all these things, all these components. For data, for desktop-based application as well, we have Win app driver, which is created by Apm itself, which is a wrapper created for, like, if I show it to you, you're gonna find it over here. If I go to Apm blocks, which is maintained by the Apm developers itself. So here, if you search for desktop, testing window desktop with Apm. So you can see there is something called as WinAppDriver. You're going to find it over here. They must have mentioned WinAppDriver. Yeah, see, WinAppDriver. And if you go down, you'll see the coding is similar to what we are doing in Selenium. Driver dot find element, driver dot find element by XPath dot click. So all these methods are coming from Selenium library itself. Right? See, they are coming from Selenium. Some are coming from Apm as well. Right? So they have wrappers created. You can launch a notepad using this code, and then you can do manipulations in notepad as well. So that is what, and it is also an open source project. So all these levels of testing, like web-based, desktop, mobile, web services, database, can be handled in one single project. Then why would anyone go and like implement QTP in their project? QTP can only handle like desktop-based, and although it can handle web-based as well, but the biggest drawback of QTP is that it supports VB script, and VB script runs only and only on Windows. You cannot test your applications on Mac, on Linux, on different operating systems. Whereas Selenium is nothing. It's Selenium. There is no boundary to Selenium. It's just a jar file. Anything feasible in Java, you can integrate that with Selenium. And all these components that we just talked about, there are no license required to work with Log4j, to work with database, to work with Apache PY. No license. These are all open source projects.
Rahul,
Right?
can we the emails also?
Yeah. So I was talking about, let's say I took a scenario where we are executing a 4 hours of a task, and I am executing this task once I left for my home from the office, right? And I was in an intention that, okay, the 4 hours script is going to execute successfully, and at the end, I'm going to see the results. So maybe what happened in between, as soon as I left for home, after 5 minutes of execution, the script broke, right? Due to some issues, the script broke in between, but I was in an intention that it is going to execute for 4 hours, and next day I'm going to submit the report to my test manager. Now what happens, I have integrated something called as Java Mail API as well. Now the mail API purpose is, as soon as there is any error, it is going to shoot up an email to me, to my test manager, to developer, to n number of people like associated with this project. It is going to shoot up a mail that there is an issue at this particular line. It is going to capture a screenshot and send the screenshot automatically with the mail. Or the other thing I can use is, once the complete project is executed, there's a report that is going to be generated, something like an interactive report, a HTML report, which will tell how many test cases are getting passed, how many test cases are getting failed, the graphical report, which is generated with the help of these components. So these are also jar files. These are different Java projects created by different organizations, not related to Selenium, but we'll be integrating it with our Selenium project to generate reports for how many test cases are getting passed, how many test cases are getting failed. These reports look something like this. If I show you how this extent reports look like, so see, this is going to tell you that, okay, verification failed with this particular step, and automating this test, typing the first name. See, all the timestamp is also added over here. Then the test cases pass, the test cases skip, the test cases fail. You can even add a code to capture a screenshot whenever there is a failure. So something like this, I'll show you from the recent batch itself. So whenever there is a failure, a complete exception is captured, a screenshot of a failure is captured, right? So these are the details that this particular test case is failed. This is like a graphical summary. So you can attach the screenshot to an email and you can send it at the end of the project, which will contain the complete summary, how many test cases are passed, how many are getting failed. And this is not a task of Selenium, right? But we need this for the reporting purpose, right? And all these are open source APIs. There's extend report, report ng, different reporting, and this log, this Java mail is another jar, right? And then it comes like when I was executing this test, there was like 4 or 5 lines of code written over here. Maybe there are 4 or 5 test cases over here. Like first test case is verify user is able to navigate to google.com. Verify the title of the page. Verify user is able to enter in the search box. Verify user is able to quit successfully. So if you look at the logs over here, is it telling you out of 4 test cases how many are getting passed and how many are getting failed? You don't see that thing over here, right? So Selenium task is not to convert your code into test cases and report pass or fail. That is not a task of Selenium. But what would you do with just the execution? Maybe this code is getting executed for 4 hours. And after 4 hours, you're not getting any results that out of 100 test cases, 90 are passed and 10 are failed. This is what you do in manual testing, right? If expected is equal to actual, then test case pass, otherwise test case fail. And same thing you are automating. So at the end, you should get that result that out of these test cases, these are passed and these are failed. But Selenium is not going to give you that result. For that, you need to integrate another unit testing framework, which are used by developers as well, something called as JUnit, or the latest one, that is TestNG. We'll be focusing more on TestNG framework because in automation, TestNG is used widely. JUnit is very small in front of TestNG. And what are these things? These are nothing. These are just jar files. If you add TestNG or JUnit, you just right click over here, go to build path, add library, TestNG, finish. You're gonna see TestNG jars are added to your project. Now you can call these functionalities and convert this code into test cases or test suites and then execute it, and then you're gonna get a result. These many test cases are passed or these many test cases are failed. But
excuse me,
not a
Rahul.
task.
Sorry to interrupt you. Excuse me, Rahul. In case of test-driven development, is there any role of tester?
See, an automation tester is like what it is creating a test. Like you're talking about a test-driven development framework that is designed. So that is designed by developer as well, and that are designed by testers as well. So the role of a tester is either to use that framework and create more test cases, or either be a part of the framework development team and design the test cases and design the business logic as well.
Okay.
So Rahul, for Bdd Cucumber Framework, like we use it TestNG or JUnit?
If we can use either, these are runners for Cucumber BDD.
Okay, so we can use either, right?
You can use either TestNG, either JUnit, right?
Okay.
And then we have Maven. So Maven plays a very important role. This Maven is your dependency management tool, plus it's a build tool. Now we're going to have a detailed discussion on what Maven is. It is very, very important, right? But prior to that, I was going to take some example, as in like we have executed this, and what initially I did, like I have, if you remember in yesterday's session, I've added this something called as Chrome driver.exe, right? What is this Chrome driver.exe? If I remove it from here, if I go to build path, and if I simply delete it, yeah, I was sure it is not going to delete because it is in use. So I need to first kill it from task manager. Chrome driver, there must be some service running for Chrome driver. Let me see that. Yes, this is the one. Now let me remove it. And now if I run this code again, it is not going to run. If I run it, see, this is not working. I got some exception saying the path to driver executable. So this is what driver executable, Chrome driver executable that I've added. Now, what is this Chrome driver doing over here? What is the role of this Chrome driver? Same thing if I change this to Firefox. If I want to run my code on Firefox, I'll gonna change the class name to Firefox driver. I change this to Firefox driver. If I run this now, again, it is not going to work. I am going to get an exception saying that path to driver executable must be set by Gecko driver. So for Firefox, there is something called as a Gecko driver exe file. So Gecko driver exe is, if I go over here, and if I go over here, so this is Gecko driver. I'll just copy this, paste it over here, and now I'll run this, run as Java application. And now you're going to see it's going to launch Firefox browser, and we're going to do the same execution on Firefox.
So to run
So what are these? What are these
to
browser executables? Why we need them?
We are doing web-based testing.
Web-based testing.
We are doing.
So web-based testing task is of Selenium. So what these executables are doing?
we invoke the browsers.
Invoke the browsers. Okay, so
Yes.
before like I tell you what this is, I need to explain you the architecture of WebDriver. So architecture of WebDriver as in the architecture of Selenium 2 or Selenium 3. So normally, like we have seen IDE is only for record and play, right? So if you are using IDE, then you cannot integrate these components because these are related to Java only, right? You cannot use TestNG, you cannot use Jenkins, you cannot use POI, because IDE is only for record and play. So you can see that there is no purpose of using record and play. It's a very small component. That is the reason it is nowhere used in the industry. So for the coding part, initially they started RC. RC, the full form is remote control. Now this is one of the coding library, and this library was very small. Initially, one of the major class was there in the library, which is called as default Selenium. This was the only major class, and all the functionality that we need to handle on a website is available in a form of a method inside this class. So very first method was start. In this, they have written a code. If you want to launch a browser, you need to call start method. After that, there's a method called as open. If in case you want to navigate to a particular URL, you call this method open. Then you want to type in some search box, method type. You want to click on a button, method click. You want to close the browser, method close. So this is how like this library was created, and around 200 300 methods were there, not more than that. Now, in order to work on Selenium RC, you just need to add the initial Selenium jar file and call this class. So working was very easy. You just need to create an object of this class saying default Selenium equal to new default Selenium. And then you start calling methods one by one, like Selenium dot, the very first method start, it launches a browser. Selenium dot open, and you provide a URL, let's say http google.com. It opens google.com in that browser. Then there's another method you want to do type. So there's a method type. There's a method click. So one by one, I mean, see, it's a very simple code. Even if you're not good in Java, you should be able to understand what this code is doing. The code is very straightforward. It was very easy to work on Selenium RC. One by one, call the methods from the class and automate your website. But this is a plain Java code. When I run this code, how this code is performing actions on your browser? What was written in the architecture? How this code is communicating with the browser? This is a plain Java code.
Because we have added the Selenium jar files.
Yeah, that's fine. Selenium jar file provides us this class and these methods. So when I click on the run button, it is launching a browser and it is performing action. It is clicking, it is typing. How Selenium is performing action on the browser? How Selenium is communicating with my browser? What is the mode of communication? So when initial Selenium RC was started, the mode of communication was JavaScript injection. So JavaScript, as in you need not to worry about JavaScript coding part. This is the background. So how Selenium communicates with your browser, Selenium RC, initial Selenium 1.0, the communication was done with the help of injecting JavaScript on your browser. Now, if you remember, I mean, if you know what JavaScript is, where JavaScript runs. So where JavaScript runs? On the front end, on the UI part, right? So any action that you want to perform, you want to click on this, you want to click on this, you want to type here, even if you don't use Selenium, if you are, let's say, if you are a JavaScript developer, you can write some JavaScript code and you can directly inject it on your browser and perform all necessary action you want. You can type, you can click, any action you want to handle, you can simply write a JavaScript code and you can handle that. But JavaScript is coding is little tricky. So what they did, they like, if I talk about clicking using the JavaScript, so JavaScript codes look something like this: document.get element by ID, something like this, then dot click. I mean, although it's not a correct JavaScript code, but it looks something like this. So what they did, they wrapped this code into the click method over here in your Java click method. So ultimately, as an end user, as a tester, what we are calling the basic core Java method. But what it is doing, it is injecting the JavaScript on your browser. And then it is handling the elements on the web page, performing click, performing type. So that is how the architecture of RC was designed. But this architecture was a major flaw because there were many, I mean, at the time RC was launched somewhere in 2006 in the market when people started using Selenium RC. And at that point of time, the majorly used browser was IE, Internet Explorer. And IE was a highly secured browser. IE, at times you may have noticed, let's say I have IE over here or not. Let me open IE and show it to you. So have you ever noticed people who have performed some sort of testing on IE on the status bar? On the status bar, have you ever noticed some yellow triangle showing when you navigate to particular website? You may see done with errors. The page is not fully loaded, so done with errors, something like this. If any one of you have worked on IE, it's a like quite old browser. So this is something like a JavaScript warning. IE is a highly secured browser. IE does not allows JavaScript to be run onto its browser, to be injected onto its browser. Because JavaScript, if I'm a JavaScript developer, I can write some script that can fetch information out of your browser, the stored information, the cookies, username, password, credit card information. I can easily get it. If you navigate to my website, if I have written some JavaScript code, it is going to inject on your browser and get the information. So IE blocks that execution. On the other hand, how Selenium RC works, it injects JavaScript. So when we used to run Selenium RC code on IE, it does not allow that. We get a big blocker saying script cannot be executed further. So this is one of the drawback. And there was an alternate to this. Go to your IE, go to internet options, go to security, remove all these protected modes. Then you should be able to inject JavaScript on IE and should be able to execute Selenium RC code. But if I remove all these security codes, if my website is using SSL certificates, some security certificates, then my website is not going to launch. I'm going to get an error, some SSL certificate missing, the website certificate is not trusted, my website is not going to open. So ultimately, if I'm removing security to run Selenium RC code, and if my website is a highly secured website, it is not going to open. Then what is the need of executing Selenium RC test? So this was one of the major issues. The architecture itself was a big flaw. And not only this, RC contains only few methods. Few methods as in there were only counted methods. 200 to 300 methods were there to automate a website. And when we do permutation and combination, like even if we are testing a login window, we do a lot of permutation and combination. And it doesn't mean for every permutation and combination, there is a method available in RC. So that library was very small. Now in 2006, there is a developer at Google named Simon Stewart. He has seen all these challenges in Selenium RC. And in order to overcome all these challenges, he created another project parallel to RC called as Webdriver. And the very first thing he did in this project, he has completely removed the JavaScript injection part. So there is no JavaScript injection in Webdriver. And not only this, in RC, there was only one class. In Webdriver, for every browser, he has created one separate class. Like you want to work on Chrome, class is Chrome driver. You want to work on like IE, class is Internet Explorer driver. You want to work on Safari, class is Safari driver. Want to work on Firefox, classes. For every browser, he has created different classes. Not only for this, for every functionality, you're gonna see a huge collection of library over here. WebDriver project is quite huge, right? So what we did over here, we created an object of like Firefox driver class, and then we automated stuff on Firefox. When we created Chrome driver class, we automated stuff on Chrome. But again, it is a simple Java code, and now there is no JavaScript injection. How this code is communicating with the browser now? What is the mode of communication? In RC, the mode of communication was JavaScript injection. But what about WebDriver? How this code is communicating with the browser? This code is directly communicating with the native class of your browsers with the help of, again, something called as REST API. With every code that is being executed, there's a REST call sent to your browser API. This code is not directly interacting with the browser. These browser vendors, your Firefox vendor is Mozilla, Chrome vendor is Google, IE vendor is Microsoft, Edge vendor is Microsoft. They have created their own APIs, and they've shared these APIs in a form of executable file to WebDriver, so that this code can directly send a request to that API, and then that API will going to perform action on the browser. So something, if I show you in a diagram, it is something like this. Let me show it to you. So this is something like your client is there. Then in between, there is something called as a JSON wire protocol. JSON wire protocol. This is what your web server is. And then we have your browser APIs, and then we have your browsers. Browsers like Firefox is there, Chrome is there, IE is there. Now this is your client. Client as in the Java client. Java client or different language bindings are there. Selenium supports Java, it supports Python, it supports C#, it supports PHP, whichever language that you're using. So if you're using Java, then you'll be writing, creating an object of, let's say, Chrome driver. And when you run this code, a request is sent using this JSON wire protocol. So the request is sent to the JSON wire protocol. JSON wire protocol, if it is coming from Chrome, it is going to send the request to Chrome driver exe. So Chrome driver exe. And then this Chrome driver exe is provided by the browser vendor. It is not provided by Selenium. It is provided by Google. And then this Chrome driver is going to communicate with the Chrome browser and perform execution on your Chrome browser. And if this request is sent by Firefox, then it will go to Gecko driver, and Gecko driver will communicate with Firefox. So all these requests are sent using the HTTP methods, that is get, post, put, using the REST API itself, which is built up on this JSON wire protocol. So if you search for the JSON wire protocol, if you simply search JSON wire protocol, you're going to find it over here. And if you go down, you're going to see the methods that we just called. If you go down the methods, see, navigate to a URL. We called a method get. So internally, the get method is sending a post request. Session with session ID and the URL. For every action, if you want to refresh a page, there's a post method. If you want to perform click, take screenshot, close the current window, there is a delete HTTP method. So these are all your REST APIs. In case you use Postman, you can directly call these APIs and perform action without using the Eclipse project, the Java project. Right? So this is what the architecture. The architecture of WebDriver is something like this. But don't worry about the API part. We are not going in depth into this API part because that is covered in the API testing course. Right? So this is what the architecture of WebDriver is. And that is the reason when you are using this Chrome driver code, and if you're not including Chrome driver exe, you're going to get an error that the path to the driver executable is missing. Because without this driver executable, your code cannot communicate with your browser. So that was the reason to add that Chrome driver exe or the Gecko driver exe. But you can get all these files directly from Selenium website as well. So if you go to selenium.dev, and if you go to download, see, if you go down over here, you'll see something called as browsers. If you open it, see Firefox, Gecko driver implementation is supported by Mozilla. Go to documentation part and go to Gecko driver release. See, you are on Mozilla website, not on Selenium website now. And here the latest one is 0.29.1. You can download for Windows. It is available like 32-bit and 64-bit, a zip file. Just download this. And once it gets downloaded, so I'll go over here. See, this is Gecko driver. If I extract it, I'm gonna get Gecko driver over here. This is Gecko driver. I'll just copy this and paste it to root of my project. And then I'll yeah. See, now it's working fine. Now I'm not gonna get error. And my code will gonna work fine and will be able to communicate with your browser. And same thing goes with Chrome. If you want to work with Chrome, you need Chrome driver exe. So if you change this to Chrome driver and then Chrome driver over here, and now if I run this, immediately it is going to throw an exception. See, exception saying the path to driver executable must be set by webdriver.chrome.driver. So there is another way of giving this, like setting this path. You can do it programmatically as well. Programmatically, as in there is one command you need to write, something like system.setProperty. Key and the value. Key is what you see over here. So if you go back to your console, the key is webdriver.chrome.driver. And then the value is the path to the executable file. So path to the executable Chrome driver, I have downloaded it over here. So Chrome driver as well, you can get it from the main website of Selenium. You go to Selenium dev and expand this browser. You see Chrome, and this is the documentation. Click on this. And here you can see the versions over here. If you go to download, you're going to see a lot of versions over here. Now, which version to download? You need to make sure that whatever version your browser is, you need to download the same version. So if you go to settings, it should be about Chrome, and you can see the version is 91.0.4. So I'll be downloading this. If I download this or if I download this, it is not going to work. Your test may not gonna run. So if you click on this, you get this window 32-bit, and it is available for Mac as well. But for 64-bit operating system, same window 32-bit will work. So I've already downloaded it and I've kept it over here. And this is over here. This is the Chrome driver exe. So what I can do, I can either copy it or I can take the path. I'll just copy this path and paste it over here. So path, when you're adding in when you're adding in backslash, it is automatically converted to double backslash by Eclipse. So there is something called as escape sequence, which you may have studied in Java, or you'll be studying about this in Java. So Chrome driver.exe. See, I have not copied Chrome driver to my project path. I've given the path over here. I've not copied it to my directory directly. So this is kept at some different location. I've just given the path. Now if I
So
run
Rahul,
this, yeah.
yeah, what is preferable, to add the path, or we can simply add this in the directory?
So neither the path, neither the system property. There is another third way that we will be following, and which is the most recommended way. And that we're going to do with the help of Maven. Right? So I'll going to show you that way. Right. So see, what we require to work with Selenium, the basic requirement is to get the jar file of Selenium. Jar file as in this Selenium server standalone jar file, and then the executable file for Chrome driver, for Firefox Gecko driver. Right? But one thing you need to make sure, whenever there is a new release, or your browser is updated, let's say your browser right now is 91. So we have downloaded 91 Chrome driver exe. Chrome automatically updates itself, right? So after a few days, you may gonna see 92 version of Chrome. Then if you run the same code, you may gonna encounter some issue. It may gonna open the browser and immediately close it. Because this is an open source world. Every now and then you're gonna see new releases for Chrome is coming, and then you need to download the latest Chrome driver exe, and you need to add it to your project. And the other challenge you may gonna see that the Selenium versions are also increasing very frequently. So initially it was Selenium 1, then Selenium 2. Selenium 2 release went up to 2.53.1, and then Selenium 3 was started. And then 3 last release was 3.1 for 1.59. If you want to check the release history, you can check it from here. Go to the Selenium.dev website, go to download, and see the change log. So whenever there is a new release, there's the same thing like your development lifecycle. Whenever developers they create some functionality, they check in their code, and a release number is generated. Right? Like 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. So initially the project was started in Java. Later on, let's say a CTO is changed and he's from Microsoft and he converted everything from Java to C#. So then you may gonna see the same project release is changed from 1.0 to 2.0. And another time when there is a major change in the product, they may gonna change the release from 2.0 to 3.0. Same thing is happening with Selenium. Initially 1.0, then 2.0, then 3.0. 3.0 release went up to 3.14, 1.59, which was the last release of Selenium 3. And now you are seeing Selenium 4. So if you click on this change logs, you're gonna see what all things, the updation that they are doing, right? Although this could be a little technical because these are more related to development part, but still you should be able to see if there are some bug fixes, if there are some new feature addition. So their developers, they maintain their version history over here. So what all things that they have checked into 3.14, 3.1 for 1.5 release, and you will gonna find it since 2.1 version, right? And very frequently they do updates, and very frequently you will see new version of Selenium coming into the market. So whenever there is a new version, your task is to use the latest one. Remove this jar file, add another jar file, right? So this is something like a manual process that you may need to follow, but we can automate this process as well. Automate in the sense, now let's take an example. Let's just watch it very carefully. This is a very important concept. So what happens in an automation team? It's not like only one person is working in an automation project. There are multiple testers who are automating different modules of their project, right? This is a tester A, this is tester B, this is tester C. This one is automating a login window. This is automating a user registration window. This is automating some composing of email window, and different functionality is assigned to every automation tester. Now, at the end of the day, what they have to do, there is a centralized repository. You may have heard about something called as SVN or GitHub. So these days, majorly company use GitHub. So what are these repositories? These repositories are to maintain their code. So whatever the code that tester A has written, at the end of the day, he has to check in the code to the centralized repository. And same process every tester will be doing at the end of the day. So that whatever code everyone has written will be merged to one single project. And next day, they can take a fresh checkout of that project. So why this process is very beneficial? Because let's say this is tester B. It may happen that whatever code he has written at the end of the day, his laptop got crashed. So the code is not going to go away with the laptop crash, right? He has already checked in the code. Now he can take a fresh checkout of the code in another laptop as well. Or maybe it happens this tester leaves the company, so he's not going to take away the code along with him. The code is already checked into centralized repository. This tester has recently joined this organization. So in case he want to get the KT of the project, he can take a fresh checkout of the code and should be able to see what every tester has written, what project they are working on, what modules that they have automated. He's gonna get the complete code. So this is what the purpose of using Git or SVN as a centralized repository for maintaining the code and maintaining the code version. Because whenever you're checking in the code, there's a version number that is generated. So 1.0, 1.1, 1.2. Finally, the code is pushed to production or a final build is generated. So we say that this project is now 1.1.15 version. Next time we again generate a new build 1.1.16 version. That is how versioning is done. Now, when we are working in automation, we are checking in the code. But in our project, it's not only the coding part that we are handling. Along with the code, there are multiple jars as well that we are handling. So we have added a Selenium jar with the version, let's say 3.1. We have also added POI jar with the version 4.1. We have also added database jar, let's say MySQL jar with the version 8.5. We have added Log4j with a version 2.17. Similarly, there are n number of other jars added. Now, at time of checking the code, we don't check in the jar file. We don't commit the jar file. Jar files are not uploaded to GitHub or SVN. Only the code is uploaded, right? And what all jars that tester A, let's say I am working as a tester A and I am using all these jars in my project. And same jars are used by tester B, used by tester C, used by tester D, and other testers as well in the team. And we all are working on same project but different modules. Now all of a sudden, what happened? This tester, what he did, he updated. Let's say there's a new release of Selenium came into the market. So he updated the Selenium release to, let's say, 3.2. And in that release, there were some new classes introduced, which is not there in the previous version. So what he did, he added those classes. And at the end of the day, he checked in the code to the centralized repository. Everyone else have checked in their code, and this tester with the new classes, he checked in the code to the centralized repository. Now, next day, what everyone did, they have taken a fresh checkout of the code. And when they have taken the fresh checkout of the code, they got the classes which this tester has added. But are those classes going to work in their systems, their projects? They're not going to work. They're going to get an error. Right? Why they're going to get an error? Because they're using the old version of Selenium. The new classes are in the new version of Selenium. Right? So what they'll do, in order to fix this, they're going to go to Selenium website and they'll download the latest jar file. And then they're going to fix their project. But it's not only about Selenium jar. It may happen that this developer, he updates POI jar from 4.1 to 4.2. This developer, he changed MySQL jar to 8.9. Similarly, this developer may have added 10 more jar files. And at the end of the day, everyone is checking their updated code. The next day, when they take a fresh checkout of the code, everyone will gonna get some errors. And they're gonna waste their entire day in just fixing these errors, getting the latest working jar file. They're gonna go to different websites, POI, Log4j. They're gonna download the latest jar files, then gonna fix their project. So this is like a daily routine task. When you're working in a huge project, this is a major challenge you may gonna face. So what you'll do? We're gonna automate this process. So these jars are actually called as dependencies to your project. Your project is dependent on these jars. And in order to manage these dependencies automatically, you need a dependency management tool, which is called as Maven. So Maven is going to help you in fixing this issue. How? That is what we're going to take a look at right now. So it has nothing to do with the coding part. So people who are very new, don't know Java, don't worry about it. It has nothing to do with the coding part. This is just a configuration part. So Maven comes inbuilt inside your Eclipse. So if you go back to your project, if you like, we have created a simple Java project. Now I'm not going to create a simple Java project. I'm going to create a project in a Maven way. So see, if you do new, if you right click do new, you get an option create a Java project. Don't select this Java project. Click on project, go down, you'll see Maven over here. Click on this, expand this, select Maven project. This is also a Java project, but it is now going to going to follow some standards that are laid out by Maven, which everyone is following in the industry. The way the projects are designed, the way the projects are handled. So click on next and click on create a simple project. Click on next. You can see some option group ID, artifact ID. So group ID is your domain name. Let's say my website is way2automation.com. My group ID will be in reverse order, com.way2automation. Artifact ID is your project name. Like we have created a project name as HSBC Bank. I'm going to create a project, let's say Selenium testing, and click on finish. You'll again going to see another Java project created. Like HSBC Bank, we have Selenium testing, same Java project. But what is the difference? If you expand this HSBC Bank project, you see one SRC folder over here. And inside this, what you did, you created a class, right? Now, if I expand this Selenium testing, if I expand this, you're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4 SRC over here. So where are these 4 SRC folders coming from? They are not 4. There is only one SRC folder. Inside SRC, you see 2 main, 2 test. Inside main, you see 1 Java, 1 resource. In test, you see 1 Java, 1 resource. Let me show it to you from the root directory, from the physical location. If I go to this project, Selenium testing, you can see this was HSBC Bank. If I open it, you'll find SRC folder, one SRC folder. Inside SRC, you see your banking class. Same way, if I go to this Selenium testing, you will see only one SRC folder. Although you see 4 over here, this is because SRC contains main and test folder. So you can see main and test. Main contains Java and resources. Test contains Java and resources. So why they are organized in such a way? This is because at times it happens the project is created by a developer, right? This project, a Java project, is created by a developer. The business logic is written inside these main packages. And the unit testing or the automation testing part is designed in test packages. Package or folder, both are same thing. So anything related to the testing code, we're going to keep it inside the test folders only. Anything related to the Java file, like we created Java will be kept inside Java. Anything related to not related to Java, let's say the Excel file, XML file, Notepad file, any resource you need it in your project, you can keep that in your resources package. Like we need a resource called as ChromeDriver.exe. This is a resource. This is not a Java file. So I can copy this. I can go inside resources. I can create one new folder over here. And I'll name this folder as executables. And I'll paste this executable file over here. So this is how I'm maintaining this file over here. Let me refresh it. Refresh, and then I'm going to paste it. Cannot paste clipboard content. Let me try to do it again. Copy and paste. And you'll see ChromeDriver.exe. But I'm not going to keep my Java code over here. Java code will gonna come inside the test package. We are not going to do anything inside the main package right now. Main packages are only for developers or for the business logic. Test packages are for testers. This is how the code is maintained inside a project. This is a standard way of doing it. Now, if I want to create, if I want to automate my website, I'll be creating a class. Let's say I right click over here. I'll say new, and I'm going to create a class. I'm going to name it as test browser. I want to do some testing on Chrome browser. Same code that we have written earlier. I'll be writing the same code over here. Like I'll be creating an object of Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver. This is what we did earlier, but I'm getting errors over here. Why we are getting error? Why we are getting error for Chrome driver?
Path not set, I guess.
Yeah.
We have not added any jar file, right? It's a simple Java project. How this Java project is going to know what is Chrome driver? See, if you mouse over, it will tell you that cannot be resolved to a type. Create a class Chrome driver. We have not created any class. I mean, we are not to create this Chrome driver class. Chrome driver is already created in some project. We need to add that project. And that project is available in a form of a jar file, which we need to download it from selenium.dev. From here, from download, and then this jar file, right? And once you download it, you need to add it by right clicking, but this is again a manual process. We are not going to add it through external jars now, because next time a version change, then again I need to remove it and I need to add another version, right? I may be adding 10 other jar files. I'll not be manually updating the jar files every now and then. So what I'll do, you see something over here called as pom.xml file. This is the heart of your Maven project. If you open this, you're going to see your project over here. This is your project information that you've created. You have added a group ID, this, you've added artifact ID, your project name, and this is the version of your project. Now, your project is dependent on Selenium project and POI project and TestNG project. So what you'll do, you'll add one tag over here, name it as dependencies. And here you'll be adding the dependencies. Now, where to get the dependencies? From the same website. From Selenium website, you need to check something like additional information for Maven user. Click on previous releases, and here let's see, they have not given the Maven information, I guess. Previous list, a complete list can be seen here, and if you go to
Can we search from Maven from the Google?
Yeah, we can search it from Google itself. No need to search it directly from the website. There is a centralized repository that covers everything, not just Selenium. You want to get it for POI, you want to get it for TestNG. The one that we talked about initially is mbnrepository.com. So all the open source projects, they're checking their jars over here. So if I type Selenium, if I'm looking for Selenium, see Selenium Java, and I want 3.14159 version. You see, this is a jar file, but if you go down, you'll see something called as Maven dependency. Just copy this, go over here, paste it over here. See, this is a dependency, group ID. This is the Selenium project. Artifact ID, Selenium Java, the project name. This is the domain. Initially, it was seleniumhq.org. So they have written it as org.seleniumhq. Now they have migrated to Selenium Dev, but they have not updated the group ID. Artifact ID is their Selenium project, and this is the version of their project 3.14159. This was my project, com.w2a. Selenium testing is the project name. Version is 0.1. My project is dependent on this project. So I've added this dependency. As soon as I hit Control S, I save this, you're gonna see a Maven dependency added over here. If you expand it, you can see all the jar files related to Selenium are added. So many jars. These are all related to Selenium.
Rahul, by doing this, we need not to like download Chrome driver or Gecko driver anything or set the
That we
path.
still need to do it. That we still need to do it. But we can automate
Yeah.
that part as well. I'll show you that thing. Right? So now let's say I don't want to use 3.14159. So I can use any other version as well over here. I want to use maybe 3.141.5. So I'll remove this 9 from here, do Control S, and in few seconds, you're going to see that the version is going to change to 3.141.5. Now I want to add another jars as well. I want to add like a TestNG jar. So I'll simply type TestNG over here, and I'll go to this TestNG framework for Java, and maybe I add this 614.3, copy, just add it to pom.xml, hit save, and in few seconds, you're gonna see TestNG jars are added. These are the TestNG jars. Then I want to add log4j. So I'll simply search for log4j. Search, and this is log4j. Copy this, go to this and copy this, paste it to your pom.xml.
Rahul, we need to
Hit
maintain
save.
we need to maintain any consistency of versions between the different dependencies, or it's not required.
I'll tell you about that. So see, log4j added over here. Now see, I'm not manually downloading this jar file. I'm just adding these dependency in this XML file. At the end of the day, when I'm checking the code, I'm not going to check in these jars, but I'm going to check in this pom.xml file. Now, next time a tester, when he downloads the project, he's going to get this XML file. And when he builds the project, automatically all the jars will going to come into his machine. So he need not to worry about what is the latest version. It is already mentioned over here. Right? So this is the process of automating the manual downloading of the jars. And you can see how quickly the jars are being added. So there is no magic that is going on. these jars are already there on my machine. That is the reason they are mapped very quickly. The very first time when you use Maven, it is going to generate some folders inside your C drive, users, your profile, and you'll see a .m2 folder created. And if you expand, if you open this, you'll see a repository. This is a local repository that Maven has created. If you open this, you see different projects over here. For Selenium, it's it's org. You'll see org over here. org.selenium. Selenium is where Selenium is. org.seleniumhq. Selenium, then Selenium Java, and you can see all these versions are already there in my machine. If I switch to any of these versions, it will be automatically done. But if I switch to any version which is not here, let's say which version is not here, let me see. For Selenium, let's say I don't have 3.9 over here. So if I try to switch to this 3.9.1, I copy this dependency and I'll paste it here. Just replace 3.9. And as soon as I hit save, now you're not going to see that it is automatically changed. Now see, it is being downloaded. And downloaded from where? From Maven repository. And once it is successfully downloaded, now it is changed over. And if you see the local repository, you'll see 3.9.1 added today itself. So all these jars are coming from this location. So Maven first looks into your local repository. If it won't find in your local repository, then it is going to download from the centralized repository, then download it to the local repository, and then map it with your product. That is how it works. So now we have automated the process of downloading the jar files. We need not to worry about manually download it from the website and then import it. And then when the version is changed, again, we are doing deleting it and then changing it. Now you just use the latest version by mentioning it over here, 3.14159, hit save, and then all the jars will be changed to 3.141.5. And now you can simply use the same code for Chrome driver. Now your errors should be gone. Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver. But if you run it, you'll still gonna see the exception for the driver executable. So this is another manual task you need to do. Manual task as in, again, you need to download the Chrome driver exe in order to launch a browser. But what if the browser is updating after every few days? You'll keep on updating your project, downloading the latest executable file. You can automate that process as well. How? There is another Java project which is called as Webdriver Manager, a third-party project, automatic Selenium Webdriver binary management in runtime for Java. So what you need to do, you need to add this jar file, this dependency to your Eclipse project. Go to pom.xml and paste it over here. That's it. And what you need to do, once you add this, you're going to get one jar file over here which says WebDriver Manager. Now this jar file contains some classes, some methods, which you need to write it over here. That is WebDriver Manager dot Chrome driver dot setup. This one line you need to add it. And now if you run it, this line will automatically gonna check which version of browser is installed on your machine and will get that exe downloaded and mapped to your project automatically. Let's see. Now we are not getting that exception. And in some time, you're gonna see a browser is gonna launch. See, launching the Chrome browser. See, the browser is launched. Same thing, if I want to use Firefox, I'll change this to Firefox. Firefox driver. I'll change this to Firefox driver. And now if I run this, okay, so Firefox has got some issues. Okay, I have not changed this to Gecko driver. So it's not Chrome driver. It should be Firefox driver.setup. See, I'm not downloading Gecko driver. It will be automatically downloaded at the background and will be mapped to my code. And see, now the browser is gonna launch Firefox, right? So I have automated the process of downloading the jars, and I've automated the process of getting the browser executables. And now I can start writing my code and automate the website. So this is the initial configuration that you need to do. You need to get this where we were writing the initial configuration. That is where we have written it. Yeah, Java, Eclipse, Selenium, and Maven. So Maven is your dependency management tool, plus it is your build tool as well. Now what the building task is, that we're going to take a look at it later. But to get started with Maven, like I've created a Maven project over here, this project is directly not going to work on your machine. Like you right click, create a new Maven project and start adding things in pom.xml file, it is not directly going to work. You need to have Maven installed globally on your machine as well, not just in Eclipse. Eclipse will give you a by default plugin, but that plugin will not work till the time you have Maven globally configured on your machine. How you do that? It's very simple process. Simply go to Google and type download Maven. From this Maven repository, go to this download Maven, you're gonna see a zip file over here. You just need to download and extract this. So I've already downloaded it. It comes like this. I have kept it over here. This is the zip file I got. Apache Maven 3.6.3. So right now it's 3.8.1. You should download the latest one. So once you unzip, you get a folder of Apache Maven. Nothing installable over here. Inside this bin folder, you'll find Maven. But you'll not be accessing Maven from this location. You want to access it from any location, because Eclipse also needs the access of Maven, right? So we need to configure this globally like we did for JDK. So we need to copy the root path where the bin folder is, copy this path, go to your environment variables. See, don't worry about these steps. Everything is being recorded. After this training, you're going to get the recording. Just try to do the same configuration while watching this video. Don't try to practice it right now, right? You'll get the recording and then you'll be doing the same configuration on your machine. So click on edit system environment variable, go to environment variable, go to system variable, click on new and create a variable with the name mvn_home and paste this path. Right? Just try to look at the steps. Don't try to learn it right now. Don't try to replicate it on your machine right now, because you're going to get the recording and then you'll be doing the same steps on your machine. And then you can let me know if you are facing any issues in this. So once you click on OK, you'll see Maven Home created over here. Now you go to path, edit this, click on new. At the end, type %mvn_home %/bin. Why /bin? Because Maven is inside the bin folder. So I've already done it over here. I'm not going to redo it. So I'm going to delete it. Once you are done with this, click on OK, and Maven is successfully configured. This is the only thing you need to do. Now go to command prompt. You want to make sure Maven is successfully configured or not. Type mvn -version. If you get this message, Maven is successfully configured. Now you are good to use Maven. So these are the configurations that you need to do before you come to the next session. This is like mandatory for everyone who have already completed Java should do all this configuration. For rest of the people who are directly going to start from the Java part, your Java sessions will be continued from next weekend. In case you still want to do this setup, like this is like an overview of what Selenium is and how you're going to work on Selenium and what level of Java that is required, right? So we will be practically working on all these things like I have mentioned it over here. We'll be using all this. We're going to do first complete core Java, then Mail API, Log4j, Maven, all these things, Jenkins, reporting, everything will be covered, right? So it is going to take at least somewhere around 3 months to cover all these topics. So people who are already done with Java will be starting with their WebDriver part. I'm going to talk about this configuration, what we did in the next session as well. But before that, I want that you should be doing all these configuration on your machine. And if you face any issues, any challenges, do post it in the WhatsApp group where you are added, right? And try to help each other in your queries as well. And how to do this on Mac? For Mac, setting up environment variables is a little different. I'm gonna give you the steps until you can get that configured on your machine. Otherwise, in case you want to see configuration of Mac, then I've added a complete section over here. Just go to this particular course. I'll just show it to you. Go to this course of Selenium, and if you go down, you're gonna see the configuration part over here after the core Java. Latest Selenium configuration on Mac. So configuring Java, Eclipse, Maven, configuring browsers. So whatever that we did on Windows is already there on Mac as well. So just try to follow these lectures and try to do it on Mac. And if you face any issues, then you can let me know. Right. So that's all, guys. That's all. Will be we are done with the initial 2 introductory sessions. So for the people who are very new, we're gonna start with the core Java part next weekend, and rest you guys can continue with the WebDriver session. So people who already knows Java can continue in the same batch, and rest will be forming up a new WhatsApp group for the core Java batch, and then I'll be sending you the WhatsApp group so that you can add yourself accordingly. Right. So that's all, guys.
Sorry,
These are the 2
and
introductory
for
sessions.
people, for us,
Yeah.
like we'll be joining the day 1 from next week onwards. So,
Absolutely.
so which course we have to refer? The same which is on the screen, or is it only the core Java which
You
is
need to refer this one.
core
Let me
Java?
show it. Yeah, you need to refer the core Java part from here. So I've already created a section over here. Let me show it to you. If you go down over here. Okay, so yeah, Java 1 will be formed. I have uploaded the yesterday's recording in this batch, but now you're gonna see batch July 2021 once your first day of core Java is done. So that will be added after this. So you should be able to follow the lectures from here.
Okay.
All right.
So next week is the first class for the core Java, is it, Rahul?
Yeah, next week is our first class of core Java. Yeah, we're gonna start with the Java.
So for us, it should be just Java is there. That's also fine, right?
Sorry.
So you want us to all the 3 things to be installed? Java.
I mean, it's completely depend on you. If you want to complete the Java first and then want to come back to Selenium, that's fine. Otherwise, if still you want to practice the configuration that we did in these 2 sessions, then you can do that. And if you face any issues, then you can let me know.
So you'll be teaching that thing in future classes as well, because most of the things I think I was not able to grasp everything.
Absolutely. So once your Java is done, we'll be repeating these 2 lectures again.
Okay.
Java is going to handle by you, or is there any other trainer?
For Java, there's a different instructor. He's again very good in core Java, has already taken a lot of patches. So you can refer his videos as well over here. These lectures are taken by him only. So his name is Ajay. So just for the core Java part, he'll be taking your core Java training, and rest whatever that you learn in core Java will be practically implementing in Selenium. So I'll be taking all your Selenium, POI, TestNG, ReportNG, Extend reports, Maven, Jenkins, all these framework designing, everything will be covered by me only. It's just like that you're getting a separate dedicated training on core Java before you move on to Selenium, so that it will gonna help in building up your base for Java.
Okay. So it takes around, how many classes?
Around 12 sessions will be there on Java.
Okay, after 12 sessions, again, we'll be joining to your, the Selenium thing, right?
Yes.
Oh.
Rahul,
All
I
right.
am not able to see the same kind of stuff. And so I went to your Selenium tutorial, my course, and there I went into this core Java.
No, you need not to go inside core Java. You need to look for online training recordings. So for Selenium, you need to look for a Selenium online training recording from live session. So this you're gonna see once you go little down in this, and you're gonna find it over here. You need to open this.
Okay, so there I have to go. So this
Yeah.
is for only today's class. Okay,
So this is
okay.
you'll find previous batch recordings as well over here. So all these are previous batches. But your batch will be at the very bottom. Right. I could move it to up, but it takes a lot of time to just, it's like drag and drop functionality. I need to go at the very end, then drag it. So it is going to, it's a very tedious process. So that's the reason that new sections are added at the end of
No, that's fine. Okay.
right. All right. So thanks a lot, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed these two sessions, and then we're gonna meet next weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining. Bye.